I didn't plan to let him touch me. It started with my earring. We were standing too close in the hallway outside the conference room, the carpet still warm from the afternoon sun coming through the tall windows. I could smell his cologne, something soft and clean that didn't belong this near my neck. He leaned in as if to whisper, but instead his breath caught behind my ear, warm and deliberate, like he knew exactly what it would do to me. "You lost the back," he murmured. I lifted a hand automatically, fingers brushing my lobe. The earring shifted, suddenly heavy, suddenly aware of gravity. I laughed it off, quiet and strained. "It's fine. I'll fix it later." But he didn't move away. His eyes dropped to my ear, not my mouth, not anywhere obvious. Just that small, intimate place no one pays attention to unless they're already imagining touching you. The hallway felt narrower. Somewhere behind us a door closed. The sound echoed too long. "Hold still," he said. I should have stepped back. I should have made a joke, said no, said anything. Instead I froze, chin slightly lifted, pulse loud enough that I was sure he could hear it. His fingers rose slowly, giving me time to stop him. They didn't rush. They hovered first, close enough that my skin reacted before he ever made contact. When he finally touched me, it was barely there. A careful pinch, a tenderness that felt more intimate than anything rough ever could. I inhaled sharply. "Does that hurt?" He whispered, lips close now, the words brushing me more than his hand did. I shook my head, even though everything in me was trembling. The earring slid free with a faint metallic sound, impossibly loud in the silence between us. He held it for a second longer than necessary, his knuckles grazing my jaw as he pulled away. That was it. That was all. But something had shifted. He placed the earring in my palm, closing my fingers around it gently like a promise. Or a secret. His thumb lingered for half a second on my skin, warm, grounding, devastating. "Sweet," he said softly, almost to himself. And in that moment, with my heart racing and my hand still burning where he'd touched it, I knew I had crossed a line I couldn't uncross. I put the earring back on alone in the restroom, hands shaking as I twisted the tiny back into place. The mirror caught my face mid-breath. Eyes darker than usual, lips parted like I'd just run somewhere I shouldn't have gone. Nothing had happened, and yet my reflection looked like someone who had already lied. He didn't text me afterward. That almost made it worse. At home that night, I stood at the sink pretending to listen while my partner talked about his day. I nodded at the right moments, smiled when expected. My fingers kept drifting up to my ear, touching the place where the skin still felt warm, still remembered the pressure of someone else's hand. The metal cooled quickly. The feeling didn't. Sleep wouldn't come. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt that pause again. His fingers hovering, the unspoken question in the air. "Hold still." The way he'd said it, like we both knew I already was. The next morning I chose those earrings again. Small. Gold. Unassuming. I told myself it meant nothing. But when I caught my reflection in the elevator doors at work, I noticed how they caught the light when I turned my head. How easy it would be for someone standing close to notice. He was already there when I arrived, leaning against the counter in the break room, coffee untouched. When our eyes met, something flickered, recognition, restraint, maybe relief. He smiled like nothing had changed. "Morning," he said. "Morning," I answered too quickly. We talked about deadlines. About nothing. The hum of the fridge filled the gaps. As I reached past him for a mug, my elbow brushed his arm. Barely. But he inhaled like it mattered. "You okay?" he asked quietly. I nodded, then stopped myself. "I think I forgot the other one yesterday," I said, gesturing vaguely at my ear, hating how soft my voice sounded. He looked. Really looked. Not lingering, just enough. "Good thing you didn't," he replied. The words settled between us, heavy and careful. He stepped aside to let me pass, but as I did, he leaned in, not enough for anyone else to notice, and his whisper followed me like a thread. "They suit you." I carried my coffee back to my desk untouched, the heat rising off it slow and sweet. Somewhere deep in my chest, guilt stirred. But so did something warmer. And I realized the danger wasn't that he wanted me. It was that he was patient enough to wait. By the third day, the hallway had become dangerous. Not because of what happened there, but because of what might. I started taking the long way to meetings, slowing my steps without admitting it to myself. The lights above the carpet hummed softly, and every sound felt amplified. Heels clicking, a distant laugh, the muted rush of air from the vents. Each corner felt like a question. He found me there just before lunch. I was pretending to read something on my phone, shoulders turned toward the window, when his reflection appeared beside mine in the glass. He didn't touch me, didn't even face me fully, just close enough that I felt the warmth of him through my sleeve. "You're early," he said. "So are you," I replied. Silence settled, not awkward, not empty. Charged. I could feel my heartbeat in my ears, a steady pulse that kept time with my breath. He shifted slightly, and his arm brushed mine again. This time neither of us moved away. His gaze flicked to my ear. I felt it instantly, a shiver that traveled down my neck and settled low, unwelcome and undeniable. I swallowed. "They're still on," he said quietly. I nodded. "For now." That earned me a smile, not triumphant, not smug. Soft. Almost fond. It made my chest ache in a way that scared me. "You know," he said, lowering his voice, "you don't fidget with them when you're nervous." I froze. "I don't." "No." He leaned closer, just enough that his breath brushed the edge of my hair. "You touch them when you want something." The words landed slowly, sweet and dangerous. My fingers curled at my sides, resisting the instinct to reach up, to prove him wrong or right. The space between us felt impossibly thin, like one breath could tear it open. I should have laughed, should have stepped back. Instead, I tilted my head without thinking, exposing my ear in a way that felt deliberate even as I told myself it wasn't. His hand lifted again. This time he didn't touch me. He stopped just short, letting the anticipation do the work. My skin reacted anyway, heat blooming where his fingers would have been. I could feel my pulse there, frantic, giving me away. "Tell me to stop," he whispered. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. His fingers finally grazed my hair, tucking a loose strand behind my ear with unbearable care. It was such a small thing, something anyone could have done. But the way he did it, slow, reverent, like he was learning me by touch, made my knees weaken. He pulled back first. "We should go," he said, steady again. I nodded, dizzy with relief and disappointment all at once. As we walked away in opposite directions, my ear burned beneath the earring, hypersensitive, alive. And I understood then. The point of no return wouldn't be a kiss. It would be letting him touch me again, and not asking him to stop. After that, everything softened. Not easier, just quieter. Like we'd both learned how to move around the thing between us without touching it directly. Our conversations became careful, almost polite. Too polite. The kind that leaves space for what isn't being said. Until the afternoon the fire alarm went off. It was a false alarm. Someone burned popcorn on the third floor. But protocol is protocol. We filed out in slow lines, the stairwell echoing with footsteps and half-hearted complaints. I ended up behind him, close enough to notice the way the back of his collar creased when he turned his head. On the second-floor landing, the line stalled. We stopped. Too close again. The air was warm, stale, carrying the faint scent of smoke and something sweet. Maybe his soap, maybe my imagination. He glanced back at me, then forward, then back again. A question passed between us without words. "Your earring," he said under his breath. "It's loose." I touched it instinctively. He was right. I could feel it shifting, threatening to slip free. "Here?" I asked. He nodded once. There were people all around us. A security camera blinking red above the exit sign. Anyone could have looked. No one did. "Turn a little," he said quietly. I obeyed. This time there was no hovering. His fingers came straight to my ear, sure and unhurried, brushing my neck as he steadied the earring. I felt the contact everywhere, my shoulders, my spine, the soft place behind my knees. I held my breath without meaning to. "Relax," he whispered, close enough now that his words warmed my skin. "I've got you." The phrase landed wrong. Or maybe too right. He slid the earring free again, slower than before, as if testing how much I'd let him take. The metal whispered against my skin. My pulse jumped, betraying me. Someone laughed a few steps below us. The sound felt distant, unreal. He didn't pull away immediately. Instead, his thumb brushed the place where the earring had been, gentle and absent-minded, like he was smoothing a crease from fabric. The touch was so tender it made my chest ache. I should have moved. I didn't. "You smell like something sweet," he murmured. Not flirtatious. Observational. Vanilla. I swallowed. "Maybe." He smiled, not at me but at the space just past my shoulder, like he was already practicing restraint. Then the line started moving again. He placed the earring into my hand the same way he had before, closing my fingers around it. This time he didn't let go right away. His grip lingered warm and steady, grounding me in a way that felt dangerously intimate. When he finally released me, I felt unmoored. Outside, the sunlight was too bright. People talked, stretched, checked their phones. Life resumed as if nothing had happened. But my ear was bare now, skin sensitive and exposed. And the absence of that small piece of gold felt louder than any alarm. I tucked the earring into my pocket instead of putting it back on. That was the moment. Not when he touched me, but when I chose not to undo it. After that, he stopped pretending not to notice. Not openly. Not in ways anyone else could point to. But his attention found me in small, precise moments. When I reached for a glass in the kitchen, when I leaned over a document, when I tucked my hair back without thinking. His gaze followed those movements like he was memorizing them. I stopped wearing the earrings altogether. The first time he noticed, it was late afternoon. The office had gone quiet in that hollow way it does when most people leave early. The lights above us buzzed faintly. I was standing at the printer when he came up beside me, close enough that I felt the shift in air. "You forgot something," he said. I looked up. "Did I?" He nodded toward my ear. Bare. Exposed. I suddenly felt too aware of it, like the skin there was listening. I shrugged, pretending ease. "Didn't feel like wearing them today." He paused, then added softly, "I like taking them off." The words hit low and slow. My breath caught before I could stop it. The printer beeped, announcing the end of its job far too loudly. I turned to face him. "You shouldn't say things like that." "I know," he replied immediately. He didn't step back. That was the problem. He always knew exactly where the line was, and how to stand just close enough to it that I had to feel the heat. We ended up alone in the small meeting room an hour later, going over numbers neither of us was really reading. The door was closed. The blinds half drawn. The air felt heavier in there, warmer, like the room had been waiting. At one point I leaned forward to point at the screen. He leaned in too. Our shoulders brushed. This time it wasn't accidental. I stayed there. "So," he said quietly, eyes on the slide, voice steady. "You trust me?" I laughed softly, trying to break it. "With spreadsheets?" "Sure." "That's not what I meant." The silence that followed pressed in on us. I could hear the soft rhythm of his breathing, feel it against my arm. My heart thudded once hard. "I don't know," I said. He turned his head then, just enough to look at me. His gaze dropped, not to my mouth but to my ear again. That familiar focus made my stomach tighten. "You let me," he said. Not a question. An observation. I didn't answer. Instead, I reached up slowly and tucked my hair behind my ear, exposing it fully. The gesture felt intimate, deliberate. An invitation I didn't have the courage to take back. His hand lifted almost immediately, drawn there like it belonged. This time, when his fingers touched my skin, I didn't flinch. I closed my eyes. The contact was light, reverent. Just the pat of his thumb brushing my ear, lingering. My breath shook as it left me. That was the moment I understood. This wasn't about temptation anymore. It was about consent given in silence and how sweet it felt to give it. After that, he didn't touch me again. Not right away, which somehow made it worse. He gave me space, but the intentional kind. The kind that lets you feel the absence like a hand pulled away too slowly. We spoke when necessary. We avoided being alone. We behaved like people who had already done something wrong and were trying to convince themselves it still counted as restraint. But my body hadn't agreed to any of that. Every time I caught my reflection, my ear felt exposed, like it was waiting. I kept my hair tucked back without realizing it. I leaned in when he spoke. I noticed the way his voice softened when he said my name, like it was something fragile. The breaking point came quietly. It was raining that evening, the steady kind that blurs the windows and dulls sound. Most of the office had cleared out early. I was packing my bag when the lights dimmed automatically, leaving only the soft glow from the desk lamps. He appeared in the doorway of my office. "You heading out?" he asked. "In a minute." He hesitated, then stepped inside, closing the door behind him. Not all the way. Just enough. The click was soft. Intentional. "You left this," he said, holding something up between his fingers. "My earring." My stomach dropped. "I found it in the meeting room," he added, watching my face carefully. "Must have fallen out of your pocket." I took a step toward him. The air between us felt thick, charged with all the things we hadn't said. When I reached for it, he didn't hand it over immediately. Instead, he lowered his hand slightly, eyes flicking to my ear. "You never put it back on," he said. "I know." "Why?" The question was gentle. Dangerous. I shrugged, a small movement. "Didn't feel like it." He didn't smile this time. His expression softened into something more serious, more intimate. He lifted his hand. Not all the way, just enough that I felt my breath hitch in anticipation. "May I?" he asked. It wasn't about the earring. We both knew that. I nodded. That single movement felt heavier than any touch so far. He stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the warmth of him, the steady calm of his presence. His fingers brushed my jaw as he tucked my hair back again, slower than ever. My skin reacted instantly, heat blooming, pulse racing. He brought the earring up to my ear but didn't put it in. Instead, he let it rest there for a moment, the cool metal kissing my skin. His thumb steadied my ear, tender, careful. The contrast made me shiver. "You're shaking," he murmured. "So are you," I replied, surprised by my own steadiness. His breath curved around my ear, warm and sweet, carrying that familiar scent. Vanilla. Or something like it. Something I'd started to associate with giving in. He didn't put the earring on. He slowly took it away. And in that quiet, suspended moment, my eyes closed, my body leaning just slightly toward his. I understood the truth. The betrayal wasn't coming. It had already arrived. Soft, patient, and impossibly gentle. We didn't talk about it afterward. Not that night. Not the next day. But everything had changed. There was a softness between us now, unmistakable and dangerous. A shared understanding that lived in pauses and half glances. We no longer pretended nothing had happened. We pretended it hadn't gone too far. The lie was thin. We both knew it. The next time we were alone, it wasn't accidental. He asked me to stay late to finish a report. His tone was neutral, professional. I agreed too quickly. When the office emptied, the silence felt deliberate, curated. Rain tapped lightly against the windows again, like the world had decided to give us privacy. We sat across from each other at the long table, laptops open, work forgotten. The only light came from a desk lamp between us, casting soft shadows across his face. "You trust me," he said quietly. It wasn't a question this time. I looked at him for a long moment. Really looked. The calm in his eyes. The restraint. The way he had never rushed me. Never taken anything I hadn't silently offered. "Yes," I said. That was the point of no return. He stood and walked around the table slowly, giving me time to change my mind. I didn't. When he stopped in front of me, he didn't reach for my mouth, my waist, any place that would have made this obvious or crude. He reached for my ear. The touch was familiar now, almost tender enough to hurt. His thumb brushed my skin, sending a quiet shiver through me. I closed my eyes, leaning into it without thinking. "You don't wear them anymore," he murmured. "No. Because of me?" I didn't answer with words. Instead, I reached into my bag and placed the earring in his hand. The metal clicked softly against his palm. The sound felt ceremonial, final. His breath caught. He lifted the earring slowly, deliberately, letting the moment stretch. Then, so gently it felt like mercy, he removed the other one himself. The second faint metallic sound echoed in the quiet room, louder than it should have been. I exhaled shakily. He didn't kiss me. He pressed his forehead to mine instead, close enough that our breaths tangled, warm and sweet. His hand remained at my ear, steady, reverent, like he was holding something fragile. "That's it," he whispered. "That's all I wanted." But my body knew better. Because nothing had ever felt more intimate than being undone so carefully, one small tender gesture at a time. I went home with bare ears and a full heart. The quiet in my apartment felt different that night, thicker, watchful. I set my bag down slowly, like any sudden movement might break whatever fragile thing I brought back with me. In the bathroom mirror, I studied myself the way you do after a secret has changed you. My hair was tucked back. My ears still warm. My pulse stubbornly loud. My phone buzzed once. Just one message. Did you make it home safe? I stared at it longer than necessary. The tenderness of the question felt heavier than any promise. I typed yes, then deleted it. Typed it again. Sent it. Simple. Careful. Too late to mean nothing. I didn't sleep much. Every time I turned my head against the pillow, the fabric brushed my ear and my body reacted like it remembered being held there. I could still feel the ghost of his thumb, the patience of it, the way he'd taken something from me without ever asking for more. The next day, I put the earrings in a drawer. Not hidden. Just put away. At work, we passed each other like normal people. A nod. Quiet hello. But when he looked at me, his gaze went there automatically, like a habit he hadn't learned how to break. And when he noticed they were gone, something softened in his expression. Not triumph. Recognition. We never crossed another visible line. No closed doors. No whispered invitations. No moments anyone else could name. But sometimes when the office was loud and ordinary, he'd pass behind me and murmur one word. So soft only I could hear it. Sweet. And my breath would catch every time. Because the truth is, he didn't take my earrings. He took the part of me that learned how devastating tenderness can be. And I let him. Slowly.